Today's excursion to examine ancient rock art will help students connect with Alula's history.
اكتشفت في دخولي لبرنامج حماية أني كنت في جهل كبير. تحمست كل الحماس أن أتعرف على أماكن الأثرية الموجودة في العلا.
Aisha Al-Matlabi recently joined the program. She now plans to study the ancient languages found engraved on the rock walls.
تحمست أكثر أني أدخل تخصص ترجمة النقوش اللحيانية. هذا الشيء اللي أطمح له وأود الوصول إليه حتى أتوظف بنفس هذا الدراسة.
Learning to decode these ancient inscriptions will help Aisha become an ambassador for Alula's rich trove of history. But the rock art here goes back far earlier than the written word and may contain an untold story about the lives of the artists.
The exciting thing about rock art is that it captures information that is nowhere else in the archaeological record.
Archaeologist Maria Guanin is a rock art expert. She's on her way to a nearby site with carvings believed to be among the most ancient in Alula.
I've brought my little sidekick, so he's an experienced rock art baby. So I think part of the problem in archaeology is that it's still relatively rare to have children and a career, and so I just have to kind of make it up as I go. There are some limitations on my time and my sleeping patterns, but I think I found a way that works for me and the baby.
Maria is assisted by senior archaeological specialist Dahani Al-Mahmoud.
That one. You can see the head of the human is here.
You see, there is a more human figure here, and some of them like here.
Dahani is part of a growing wave of Saudi female archaeologists.
فوجدت نفسي في قريبة من أوائل السعوديات اللي خرجوا للعمل الأثري مع فريق دولي في العلا.
It looks like more than 3 meters.
العمل في الآثار أعطاني الفرصة أو تحقيق حلم من أحلام الطفولة.
Oh, look! Is this a big lion?
Maria and Dahani wait until sunset for better lighting conditions.
Oh, wow. Oh, look! With the artificial light, we can now see a lot of the lines more clearly.
The controllable light reveals primitive images of hunters surrounding prey. Long-horned ibex, lions on the prowl, and something unexpected, cattle.
And it turns out there's a whole herd underneath here. Look, these small ones, I didn't see those earlier. Here, and there, and there.
Today, Alula is far too arid to support cattle. So what are they doing in the rock art? To Maria, the engravings were likely made during a period when Alula enjoyed a much wetter climate, 7,000 to 8,000 years ago.
8,000 years ago, when the climate was wetter, there's a period when people are hunting wild animals in the rock art. And then over the top of that, at some point, comes in the cattle herders. What's interesting is that they all have these markings on the body. Is this to do with ownership of a herd?
Maria interprets these stripes as marks of ownership. A timestamp for a crucial transition in human history. From hunting to herding.
This shift from hunting to controlling animals is hugely exciting to me. What does that do to people's beliefs? What does that do to their human-animal relationships? It's probably the biggest change in human life in our history. Perfect. I'm gonna photograph this little cow and the little calf.
Until quite recently, it was presumed that 7,000 to 8,000 years ago, cattle herding was confined to the Fertile Crescent and a few isolated pockets of the world. But this evidence suggests that some of history's first cattle herders left their mark here, in Alula.
There's the cattle that are just disappearing into the crack.
Yeah.
But engravings are difficult to date without corroborating evidence. Back at Weil's Mustatil excavation, new finds are emerging.
واو في قرن هنا. So Rahman, one of our workmen, found here this horn, animal horn.
It's the horn of a domestic cow. And it turns out to be only the beginning. Over several weeks, the team slowly uncovers more and more.
It was slightly overwhelming to deal with all this quantity of material, and we quickly understood that this was something big.
Saeed Al-Amari makes the key discovery.
كان واحد من أعظم الأيام اللي مرت علي في تاريخ عملي في مجال الآثار. كان العمل شاق جدا في إزالة الطبقة السطحية الأولى، ونزلنا فكانت المفاجأة الأولى.
Buried at the deepest level of what appears to be an offering chamber, the team identifies dozens of skull parts, including over 80 horns from multiple species of animals. Saeed noticed the remains were placed with great care and clear intention.
مجموعة العظام اللي موجودة هناك كنا نجدها مرتبة بشكل منظم، فكانت تقدم بطقوس معينة.
The remains are sent back to base camp, where specialists begin piecing together what may be evidence that a major turning point in the history of mankind happened right here in Alula. Archaeologists exploring mysterious stone structures in Saudi Arabia have discovered a deposit of animal remains. Back at base camp, archaeozoologist Jacqueline Studor investigates.
I saw immediately that it was exceptional, and it's, in my point of view, totally new.
The remains were deposited with great care, suggesting an ancient ritual.
Such a number is amazing, and it's difficult to understand as being something else than a ritual deposit.
Jacqueline is most intrigued by the variety of horns. Most are goats, and there are larger species. The ibex, the gazelle.
And there is a third species, which is very exceptional.
Domesticated cattle. It's the first time cattle have ever been discovered in Alula. And the find supports rock art expert Maria Guanin's theory.
The fact that in the excavations they're now finding remains of cattle, coming from a rock art perspective, that was obvious. There is so much symbolism and so much use of these animals, it must be in the archaeological record.
Maria believes people herded cattle here thousands of years ago, when Alula's climate was much wetter. Did those early herders also build the structure in which the remains were discovered? The final puzzle piece is a newly arrived carbon dating analysis of the animal remains. The results are stunning. 5200 BCE, over 7,000 years ago.
When we actually realized that we had dates 7,000 years old, there were an awful lot of very excited and raised voices when we all realized how significant it was.
The data aligns perfectly with Maria's theory. It's amongst the earliest known evidence of cattle domestication in Arabia, and confirms that a major turning point in human history from hunting to herding spread to Alula much earlier than previously known.
We have here the earliest evidence of domestication in the region. The environment, the way it looks today, cattle usually do not live in this kind of environment. So it gives also a totally new perception of the environment and the region in which people were living.
And that's not all. At over 7,000 years old, the Mustadil predates England's Stonehenge and the Egyptian pyramids by over 2,000 years, making them among the oldest large-scale structures in the history of mankind.
With the Mustadils, I can't think of another archaeological phenomenon like that anywhere, really. You know, huge structures built over a large geographical distance, and hundreds of them.
The team has developed strong evidence that over 7,000 years ago, a highly advanced society thrived here in Alula. They left behind some of the earliest evidence in human history of monumental construction and animal domestication, and created structures tied to the burial of the dead. But as awe-inspiring as these discoveries are, they generate even bigger questions.
Saudi Arabia's place in the archaeology of the Middle East and of the wider world is really, it's only beginning to emerge, and we're only beginning to scratch the surface of this.
I think right from the outset, when you get involved in archaeology, you realize that you will never answer all the questions. We're in a chain of discovery. We're never going to get to the end. We know that. But what we can do is move that stage forward, and that process is exciting.
These discoveries are also inspiring a new generation to once again make Alula a global crossroads.
Each time we discover or we learn about a civilization we have here and we think, oh, this is quite old, then archaeologists tell us there is something older, and then there is something older. This is really make me feel proud. Of course, we have to protect this special thing we have.
نحن الآن لدينا مسؤولية كبيرة تجاه هذه المواقع الأثرية. هذه المسؤولية تنبع من حب وحرص على هذه الآثار وحماية كنوز لنا اليوم وللمستقبل.
Research continues, but it's now clear that some of human civilization's first building blocks were set in place by the architects of ancient Arabia.